So how are you doing? Both of you?
Good. How are you? We just recorded another episode, actually. Yeah. We just got back from the studio.
I love that format. So what is it? You just rent the spots out hourly? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, so I have like I got really lucky with it. There's like the Texish podcast. They pop up on TikTok a lot.
Should I take the dog out?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
But yeah, so Seth and Gunnar they have the Texish podcast. I think they're a lot more like people driving to work, but they do a lot of like Texas history. I know they're like former actors and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they popped up on TikTok. We like became friends on TikTok. And I forget what I posted, but there was something where I asked them, I said, hey, like that studio like looks really cool. What's kind of the deal there? They said, oh, you want to be a guest on our podcast? And I went into the studio. I loved it. Got a really good deal. They have like a membership where it's I think it's like basically $700 a month for like 4 hours. I don't know if they still do that pricing. But yeah, once you start doing video of yourself on TikTok doing like the fancy podcast setup, we've gotten like a lot of like UGC stuff that kind of covers like the cost of it. No sponsorships, but just UGC like fake podcast ads. I think today we had like a toothpaste tablet, and then we had like a new dating app. And then another one we have coming up is a penis pump. So that'll be a fun one.
I'm so excited.
Ouch. I would not use that. That's not, I mean, no, I mean, I'm thinking, yeah, you'll have a temporary kind of look, but doesn't that cause like permanent damage if you keep reusing it over and over again?
So it's funny because this company really wants to they're trying to go the way that like Hims went, where like before Hims, like people didn't really used to talk about like ED or like, like erectile dysfunction and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like, they're kind of like, oh, Hims made talking about that cool. Cause it used to be like, oh, Viagra, and then they're like, oh, we can make penis pumps cool. So they're like, talk about it in a scientific way, like make it sound cool. But yeah, they sent one here. It's huge. They call themselves the Bugatti of penis pumps, Bathmate. So that'll be a fun one to do. Mm-hmm.
Because growing up, this is how old I am. They used to have the John Holmes pump back when I was a kid, and people would use it. But again, I heard it caused long-term damage because you're stretching out those tendons down there. And when you stop using it, you're really just ruining what you've got. So if they've perfected that science, I'm pretty sure a lot of guys are going to take advantage of that. But no way, I'm good. Never mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Too many horror stories. You know what? Now that I think about it, can you lower the camera just a little bit? Because I'm thinking about when we put on TikTok, you're probably going to be hidden in captions, just like maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Tilt it down. Is that possible or no?
That's good right there. That's better.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry.
There we go.
Should I be in it or
Yes. I'm trying to make it in focus.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right. And for everybody who's listening, this is Annabelle and Charlotte. They're from the Peasant Party podcast. And I wanted to say that that's you. And of course, Charlotte, you've been on my podcast already once, but you've also been on a live with me. I didn't know you had a sister, and I just discovered your podcast. You just started, you're like 9 episodes in, right? Or so. You're just a couple months in, right? Yeah,
we just did the 12th one today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I of course, I love the program. It was episode, I think 9 with Just Fit Justine. I saw 3 of you talking about just the dating in Austin. I'm like, I got to have them on the podcast. So again, thank you for doing this on short notice.
Of course. Yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah. And you're new to Austin, both of you, right?
My 5-year anniversary will be in September. And then
I just got here January of 2022. So I've been here for like a little over a year and a half.
What made you move to Austin?
My sister, honestly, I worked from like right above LA, and I was just living there my whole life, like living near LA. And I kind of just felt like I never like fit in there all the way. You know, I don't know if you've been to LA, but it's
once.
Okay.
Once.
Yeah, it is a specific energy. And I was just like really over it. And it wasn't necessarily that I was like, oh, I want to move to Austin. I just wanted to leave like LA so badly. And I ended up just choosing here, and it's like the most magical place ever.
It's awesome.
It's been so crazy, like seeing how my life has changed since I got here, like being in this city and like being around this type of people. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it here.
Well, Austin itself has changed. I don't recognize it anymore. And I know I'm going to appear on your show next Saturday. And I haven't been to Austin since everything kind of changed, but I've driven by it, and I don't recognize it anymore because, again, from San Antonio, Austin was known as Keep It Weird. And it was like a really small town. They were known for music and festivals like 6th Street. But now it's unrecognizable. And I know the cost of living has gone up ever since Joe Rogan showed up and all that. So it's completely changed.
Yeah. And I would mark that as when like prices went up, like the rent went up, the house prices like just went up like crazy. I got really lucky. I bought my house in like November 2020. So really lucky I did that. But yeah, like even just being here 5 years, just the amount of like skyscrapers that have gone up, like Rainy,
Right.
the street went from being like the little street full of like how old school house bars to being literally just skyscrapers and skyscrapers with like a random house thrown in.
It's insane. It's definitely insane. And what was I going to say? Charlotte, so you both are from Los Angeles originally,
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you came to Texas, and I hope you're enjoying this heat. It's never been this hot, but I don't want to go out and do anything. It's miserable.
Yeah, this is the hottest it's been since I've moved here. It's always been like, hot in the summer, but like the 26 day stretch of 100-degree plus
Dude,
is
it's like
new.
86-day stretch. It's fucking crazy.
I've never seen that before, ever. So and as I think I put on one of your posts, you were out like some Barbie event or something like that. Like, it's too hot. Go inside. It's like miserable.
It was crazy because it was Love Island was doing a casting.
That's what it
and
was.
They messaged me, like they emailed me and said, I think it was like podcast stuff. They were like, do you want to interview this girl who was like a cast member on Love Island? And I think they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. Like, I think they were like LA people that were coming out, but they were like passing out fans and stuff, all that.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope it was a success. But again, everything I want to do, I'm just staying inside. All my plans are canceled. I hate this heat. I get migraines super fast. I'm like, no, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay inside until this blows over because it's unbearable.
Dude, my air conditioning in my car is fully broken and has been all summer long. I literally do not have air conditioning right now.
How do you do it?
It's an issue with Honda. There was a recall on something and they can't get me until August 28th. So I have like 2 more weeks of no fucking air conditioning. And I was just saying on our podcast that we just recorded, I have a temper now. I'm like just fucking pissed every time I
Just
drive.
aggravated.
Oh my God. I'm like running up the fan, but the fan is like just blowing hot air and the windows down. It's like such a nightmare, dude.
Oh God. I don't know how, I'm sorry. First off, that's unbelievable. And
Thank you for your sympathy. I need it.
Jeez,
Oh my
man.
God, dude.
I sweat very easily. Like once I go outside, I start melting. And I'm just become very aggravated. So that's just not me. I prefer the cool air. I love fall.
sure.
I love winter. That's my favorite wardrobe. That's when I like to do things. So this is hell.
This is
But having said that, I loved your show. And again, I'm listening to as many as I can. And, I'm catching up. But I really love that particular episode because it was a female perspective. And of course, my demographic, I've been on TikTok. Charlotte knows this for 3 years now, 300,000 followers. And it's primarily 50-50. But I get a lot of questions from guys. Because apparently I was just single, from 2016 until 2020 when I met my love witch. And I didn't have these difficulties these guys had. There's some bad women out there, but apparently this is what's going on. So I wanted to get your perspective on a few things. I sent you some questions, and I just would love for you to just kind of give these guys some insight on what exactly they're doing wrong, maybe, and, what are some red flags and what they can do to improve, and, maybe some female red flags they can look out for. So I noticed you mentioned Snapchat. I hate it. I don't even have it downloaded on my phone, but why is that such I guess women are saying ick nowadays. I don't know. Why is that such a turnoff when it comes to Snapchat?
Yeah, I think I'll start because I think you've got thoughts on Snapchat too.
Yes. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So I hated when I first I got out of a relationship in 2019, and I remember I was going back onto Hinge and all of that. And I'll give out my phone number to anybody. Like it's not a big deal to me. Snapchat to me, there's close friends stories on Instagram. Snapchat was like the next level from close friends on Instagram. It's for the close friends. It's where we do the reply chug, cheers the beer into the camera, that kind of stuff. And so when I would get on Hinge and I would get a match, when I would hear what's your Snapchat, I always thought it was kind of weird because it was that's for the day ones. Why do you want a Snapchat? And I think I went along with it at first, and the first person I agreed to it with because I just didn't really know the deal. I think there was it was a dick pic pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden I soured on Snapchat. I was like, it's a sign of no good. They're trying to get too familiar too quickly. No Snapchat. And I think I even had a joke in my Hinge profile at the time where it was no Snapchat. If you use Snapchat, I'm out. But something I realized, doing dating content, hearing from not a million people, but so many people, the Snapchat thing, I really think it's not as I think there's people that really want to use Snapchat to do shady stuff because they're cheating and stuff like that. But I think because of the rap that Snapchat's gotten at this point, the cheaters have caught on, or the people that are really bad are saying, I'm not going to use Snapchat because it's going to flag people. I think the Snapchat thing and who really is interested in it, there's not really a rhyme or reason to it beyond maybe someone that just prefers to use Snapchat in general. Like something I've realized too is there's some people that like using it to send people pictures throughout the day. Like I don't really care for it. I'd rather just send people text messages, but there's some people that are like, I love Snapchat. And I think those people use it more. I think there's some people that have found, like, I think there's some women that don't like to give out their phone number, or they're very apprehensive of that for safety reasons, things like that. And maybe a guy's come across a woman who said that once. Guys are very trial and error, like problem solver. If they hear one girl like Snapchat, he thinks, the next girl is probably going to like Snapchat. And then all of a sudden there's someone who, doesn't really, who doesn't exactly, is not a bad guy, who's just saying, oh, what's your Snapchat, thinking it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people sound, but I think if someone doesn't like Snapchat and they go, oh, I'm not really a Snapchat person, here's my phone number, just roll with the punches. If they don't roll with the punches, if they insist on Snapchat, then I'm kind of like, that's a little weird to me.
Okay. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Snapchat?
So I'm banned from Snapchat, so I don't actually know much about it. But they never gave me a reason. I don't know. I just tried to log in one day. I hadn't been in a while, and they told me that I was banned. So I hadn't been using it. But I understand it to be like the darkest of the social medias. It just has that energy to it. And I think the reason is just simply like, I don't know. It's a little bit more like tasteless than sending like photos through Instagram DM. It's just a little bit more like, I don't know, it's meant to disappear. It's just meant to be a little bit dirtier. And I think that like, and probably like maybe a little more juvenile as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like I think there's something about that too. Like I think the kind of filters in it are a little hokey and stuff, where it's like the little dog goofy filters.
Yeah, so I remember that.
I don't know. Like, and then it disappears too. Like, even if you're not thinking of it from a cheating standpoint, like if you're trying to make plans with somebody and the messages disappear, like I like to like remember what we were talking about, especially like if conversations get spaced out. So I think it's just inconvenient, even if you take the shady stuff out.
Yeah. So I guess it's not really anything deliberate that it's doing. It's just, I guess, the reputation, like Tinder is a hookup app, when it technically may not even be that. It's just the reputation that it has. So you think maybe, because again, when I started dating in 2016, I remember Snapchat was around. Like, what the hell is this? How do you use it? But I remember women were sending me pics. I didn't even ask, like, good morning. And they're like in thongs, like, oh, hey, good morning. How's your day? I didn't expect that.
That was different in 2016. It went through like a renaissance, I think. And then
did it
became something different? Yeah. Like that's happens with apps sometimes, right? Where they like are huge. I mean, I guess Facebook kind of like was enormous, and then it kind of like took a back seat. And I feel like, Snapchat has like evolved in that way a little bit.
It did. I remember asking, because some of the women I dated, we became friends afterwards, right? And I remember asking her, like, why do you prefer Snapchat? She goes, well, I like sending pics and teasing the guy, but I know that I don't know if he screenshot it or not. So there's peace of mind knowing that if he captured it or if he saved it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. So maybe that's another reason that it became, I guess, taboo. I don't know.
Yeah. I heard someone else say they liked it too, because, and they jokingly call when you keep texting somebody and it's only from you, the deep blue sea, where it's all the blue text and they're not responding back. They say it gives you more of a pass for the deep blue sea. It gives you more.
I've never heard that before.
But yeah, it gives you more of a pass to like, maybe send more messages or pictures in a way that doesn't feel so formal. Because when you have when it's in a text message format, then you're the person who double texted. Versus, if you tell a joke that doesn't land, it disappears or something like that. Like someone said that once, and I was like,
Genius.
And wasn't there like a streak? Like if you kept texting somebody, you kept getting like a streak or an icon that was rewarding you for keeping the conversation up. I remember that
used to be public too. So like you used to be able to see if like somebody's boyfriend was talking like to.
Oh,
yeah, it used to be public, and then they took it away.
In 2012 or something like that, they used to have Snapchat best friends. You couldn't pick them, and it was based on activity, and it would show. And so if you Snapchatted back and forth with someone so many times, they would be ranked 1 to 3. And sometimes you would have somebody you liked, and all of a sudden there would be someone on their friends list that was clearly a girl. It was like, how did she get there? Who is that? So very glad they don't do that anymore, because apparently it caused a lot of problems for people. So that's one Snapchat revolution, I would say, as well.
Okay. So with Snapchat having the reputation that it has, and again, guys knowing that now, listening to this, what do women prefer? Like, what gives you peace of mind, makes you feel safe? Like, what type of approach? What is it, like a platform? Is it just asking for the number? I get the safety concern. I totally get that. But is there like an app women prefer, I guess, as far as communication?
I give out my phone number to anybody. I think there's something about the phone number.
What?
But I think the thing is, I feel like if we go from dating app to phone number, you've kind of crossed a threshold anyway. Like if I'm not comfortable giving you my phone number yet, I would just stay in the dating app. And then if I'm out and about meeting people, and someone comes up to approaches me, usually there's some form of a conversation and like rapport like being built then, where I know whether or not to give my phone number. Then I know some people, and I'm willing to bet your thing is Instagram. Are you an Instagram person? There's some people that are more Instagram heavy. I think she's on Instagram like all the time. But I was always just a phone number person. But
okay.
Yeah,
I was too. I mean, phone numbers, in my opinion, what I found just through happenstance is that when you got a number and you saved it into your phone, and then you have it like an Instagram, you got recommendations. Hey, for your contacts, she is here, and you got to find them, in a non-intrusive way that, hey, she's all here. So I just send a friend request and start talking through them with those apps. So I prefer numbers myself. I'm old school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like Instagram has just a lot more like little like safety blocks on it. You have your like message requests, and then you can mark a message as unread if you like want to, so that you can avoid making the person mad that you like didn't respond, you left them on read, whatever. Whereas with a phone number, it's just a little bit more like, it's easier for them to like, and this is just thinking in terms of safety. Like, this isn't like me being like a hard ass on every man. It's just kind of like, oh shit, if this dude is crazy and he has my phone number, it's just going to be a lot harder to solve this problem.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. But, let me ask you from a female perspective. I mean, again, you're single. I mean, I don't know if you're single anymore. Are you single or are you dating? I know, Charlotte, you're with somebody, and the last podcast I heard you say it's complicated. Annabelle, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I don't want to get too personal.
I am seeing someone. Yes, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But let me ask you this: is it true what they say with women? If you're attractive on IG, your DMs are just like blowing up with all these requests in that request folder. Is that a detriment? I mean, does that honestly happen?
So. I think so her answer might be different because she uses Instagram for business. I also think that, side note too, like you being a creative, like that's probably why you like Instagram too. Because you want to see like their art or what they do.
That's true.
So I think all of those like dating podcasts, the whatever fresh fit guys have really led a lot of people to believe that women are just getting flooded with
hundreds
thirsty DMs.
A month or a week.
No. Yeah. I'll be, and I've had a public profile because it's helpful to have, like, even before I was doing TikTok, like in Austin, sometimes you would hear from, there would be openings for things and you would get a DM from like, hey, I'm the person running the opening of this new bar or something like that, or like South by Southwest, that kind of thing. When I would get DMs from guys, a lot of times it was more of like someone threw a party. I met someone nice there, shook hands. It was kind of like a misconnection in a way. And then lo and behold, they follow me on Instagram and say, hey, it was great to meet you. Like, I never get the randoms. Even when I started doing TikTok and was more visible, I didn't really get that too much either. Like it was, I maybe a little bit more, but it wasn't these like thirsty DMs. And also, like, I think there's also the ones too where it's like every guy's just willing to fly you out to Miami. I have never gotten anything beyond a hi. Like it's always just, hey, it would be, hey, what's up? And when you get, hey, what's up from like a private profile, you don't really know what to, even if that's not threatening, you don't really know what to do with it. Cause it's like, I don't know who you are. Like you would get sometimes like those, but it wasn't this floodgate that people seem to think it is, I would say. Yeah. What's your take?
Dude, this is such like a frustrating thing because like I'm an independent contractor. I like take care of business. I don't need, like, I've never had a man doing shit for me like this. And so just to be like, oh yeah, there's always just like men hand over fist in your DMs, just being like, let me do everything for you. Let me pay your bills. Let me take care of your entire life. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? No, I've done all of that shit my whole life. So like that's a myth in and of itself. But like there are, you know, reply guys, like that's a thing, but it's like the same 5 dudes for me.
What is a reply guy? I've never heard that term before.
A reply guy is just like a guy that like, for the most part, I haven't met any of these dudes. They just are like on the internet a lot, and anything that I post on my story, which I post frequently on my story, they reply to every single thing. It'll just be like an emoji or just like a haha, like every single thing. And those are my reply guys. And you know what? I love all of them equally. So I don't respond much, but I appreciate
but that's what I love
them.
about the show. Like especially with Charlotte, because I know ever since I've been following her, there's always these new terms I laugh at, like zombies, submarining.
You didn't
like
know reply
left-
guy?
I just learned. I just called it
reply guys.
I just called
Yeah,
it
I learned
that.
something new today.
The reply guy. Well, you were on Deep Blue Sea. So the Deep Blue Sea. But no, there was someone called it though when there's the guy trying to get a woman's attention lightly on Instagram without getting turned down in a way that's like too invasive. It's called the window tap, where you go and like 3 old photos in a row.
Does that work?
The window tap is brilliant.
I think so. I think it when I've been responsive to it, it was somebody that I wouldn't be responsive to it with a stranger. I can't speak for everybody. But when I was like kind of responsive to it, it was my boyfriend actually.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So what happened? We followed each other on TikTok, and I was scrolling through, and this one like EDM artist that I really liked, small, like up and coming, and I went to like it, leave a comment, and I see him in the comment section. I was like, oh, there's the guy that made that funny ranch video. And I think I went to follow him on Instagram. He followed back, and it was like Christmas time, very quiet. And then I think he liked a picture or something, and then he did and it wasn't that recent of a picture. It was like it wasn't like 10 years ago, but it was like a few months back, and I was like, okay. And then I think I said, what's up after that.
It's the subtlest way to express interest. It's just like a tiny little grain where you're just like, if she responds to this, like in an equivalent way, then like, okay, then we can graduate to the next level.
And if she doesn't, what's she gonna say? Like he liked 3 of my Instagram pictures. What happens when she says that to her girlfriends? He liked 3 of my Instagram pictures. Isn't that weird? All her friends say no. They'll be like, no, he liked your pictures. Like, so I think it's a nice subtle way. Like I said, it wasn't necessarily stranger, but I think that can be effective.
So go back and like 3 old random photos that they posted. That's interesting. I guess when you see that, I guess you're thinking, oh, he's actually scrolling through my feed. He went all the way back till 2021, whatever, and he's checking me out. Is that what you're thinking kind of subconsciously?
Yeah, usually it's a sign they're trying to get your attention, especially when it's like a few back. I think there can be such a thing as like too many. Like if you've gone and like if it takes up the whole page on the notifications on Instagram, then it's kind of like, whoa. But between 3 and 5, you definitely notice.
Okay. I remember this one guy, he was telling me, you want to get a woman's attention? This is like in 2017 on social media. I'm like, well, I prefer just approaching them, but go ahead, tell me what's up. Because I'm old school. I go up to people and make contact. That's what I prefer 100%. He says, go and leave a negative comment because everyone's telling her she's beautiful. Just say something, no, I've seen better. That'll stand out because they're immune to all the praise. So give them something negative and that'll trigger them.
Negging.
And they'll be thinking about you all day.
Do you know what negging is? Have you heard this term?
Is that what I just said?
Yes. It's invented by pickup artists. Yes. Negging is essentially like kind of like delicately insulting women to the point like that their self-esteem is low enough that they will like continue to talk to you. So
I think the challenge though is like there's a difference. So and there's negging and then there's like playful banter, and it's kind of hard to know what the line is because I'm someone who like on my 28th birthday I asked all my friends send me a roast. I wanted to be roasted. So I love like a good joke that I can laugh with. And I think if someone liked me, they would know that. But yeah, I think like I think like an overt like you're not that hot might be a little much unless she has like a sense of humor. But yeah, I think
you're not that hot like on a stranger. Oh my God.
well, I've seen better, or like, like, you okay? Do you look sick? Something like that.
That's actually so funny. Oh my God. That's so hilarious. Somebody commenting on your like hot girl photo and just being like, I've seen better.
I think the only way you could pull I think the only way you could pull that off is if you had a public profile and you clicked on it and you could see that this guy was a total jokester. Like if it was like he had like, the funny 4th of July picture or something like that, then I would be like, okay, this guy's just having fun. But like anything else, it might be like, okay, like this is just a meanie, or like, they're miserable and leaving negative comments on people's stuff.
Right. I'd never tried it. That's just not me. I hate playing games, but apparently it worked for a few people. And now that I'm a creator on TikTok, and Charlotte, we get comments all the time, and sometimes we do get immune to the praise, like, well said, you're 100%, your money, whatever. But then there's always that one negative comment that stands out and you don't know why. And sometimes it resonates because there's some truth in that negative comment and it stays with you. So there is some reverse psychology within that, because I'm experiencing it myself as a content creator. So I don't know.
So I get it that that it would get statistically somebody's going to respond, it's going to get their attention. But then it's kind of like, oh, well, what do I have to lose? And it's like, well, a lot of women will see a comment like that and like ignore it and pretend like it doesn't bother them, but like it is mean, it's like hurtful to be like, I've seen better, like that. It stays with you like in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's just not me. And again, any guys listening to this, I don't advise you doing that either. Just approach them organically. Let me ask you, as women, again, I know you're both in relationships, but do guys approach women nowadays? In Austin, I know Austin's like a pool of just single people, but do people actually approach the opposite sex? I'm yes and no. And I think it's kind of frustrating because, and I think maybe you might not see as much of this in San Antonio, but like the Austin's just a hotbed for tourists and bachelor parties. So I think like when you're out and about, because I'm trying to think of the last time I went to like Rainy or something like that. There's almost like this feeling of like, if you see a group of guys approaching, it's like, these are guys here on their worst behavior on a bachelor party or something like that. And I hate that that's sort of like the thought that runs through my mind. But like it does, just because of how bachelor party centric it is. It's like, these guys they're up to a prank. They're on their worst behavior. They're going to say something. So there's a lot of that I think maybe has people a little bit like, what's this person's deal? But I really think like dating app culture has made it where you don't really have to, approach people. People feel like they don't have to, or they can do it, virtually approach people without being turned down. Because, you never know if you can just tell yourself that they, didn't see your profile at all versus swiping left on you, and you just don't have to deal with the rejection from it. So I think, I think you see a lot less of it. I feel like when I had been approached, it was in settings that were more, there was like a common interest or something like that going on. Like it wasn't so much like bar everyone off with their own group. Like large scale parties where it was like friend to friend, like invited closed event, a lot more of that, where it was, you could kind of know that the people there all lived there. They were friends with the same people. I think you would see a bit more of like approaching. I feel like the last time I was really like approached, it was like I think it was like a tailgate or something like that. Like a Texas tailgate. Yeah. Okay.
Can I just say, Austin, part of what I love about Austin is honestly how like approachable of a city it is. Like I have always, since I've been here, I'm like, and I have a fun job and, I do fun stuff, but like, I just feel like Austin sometimes feels like summer camp because everybody's just moved here. Everybody's new. And so wants to make friends and talk to people. And so like their guard is like a lot more down out here, honestly. Like I approach people. Or I used to before I was, dating, but like and people are like, for the most part, really cool about it.
Total contrast to LA, right? I'm assuming.
Oh my God. That's
you couldn't do that in LA?
LA is exclusive. LA is like, I don't need new friends and I don't want anybody. Other women are a threat and like that kind of thing, but I don't feel that here.
Okay. Good to know. Again, that's a good reference point in my mind. Cause again, I've never kind of been social in LA and to know that. Which you feel is awesome is like the norm for me, because that also translates in San Antonio. It's got that old town, small town feeling. Yeah, so I love it. So, and the reason I asked that is because, like I said, I remember I've mentioned this to Charlotte plenty of times that I approached women when I was dating. I would go up to women, a lot of them would be shocked, Like, oh my God, like, yeah. And I thought I'd scare them. Like, no, guys just don't approach women anymore. Guys actually approach because back to Snapchat. There was a way that if your profile was public, there was some sort of map where you can see who was around you. You remember that? And you can message them or something, or know their name, or ping them. So
I didn't know it was that sophisticated. I know there's like a map where you can like click on hotspots, and like I remember I used it a little bit to like when South by Southwest was going on, like things would pop up, and it was like, what's going on over here? So you knew when to like bounce around. I don't think it shows you like individual people, but
it was their avatar or something.
Yeah, like I do remember like when I had gotten out of a relationship with someone in 2019, we were still friends on like Snapchat or something, and I could see like where his avatar was, and it was kind of like I was getting so mad because of where he was like going out to bars and stuff. I was like, where is he?
Infuriating.
But I think you have to be friends with them. But
yeah, I remember they were telling me guys preferred approaching women that way virtually. I'm like, oh, that's just not me. But anyway, I hated the Snapchat route because I hated my first impression being a text. I don't know what to text or what to say or what to turn off, what isn't. I hate that. I really prefer the organic approach. So, and then I hear all these guys, again, they message me. They say they can't approach women. I'm like, says who? And like, well, you hear all these stories. I'm like, okay, have you experienced it? Have you personally been rejected by women? Have you tried? Like, well, no, because I hear this. What's the point? I'm not 6 foot tall. So they're like putting all these obstacles in their head before they even try. So they're throwing themselves out of the game. They're not even playing or practicing for the game. They just gave up. And it's heartbreaking. And I hate that there's so much out there. Like, I know, Charlotte, you and I are total advocates against what we see on the Red Pill podcast and all these other bro podcasts. It's total bullshit. And I just hope more guys go out there and just interact with people like in the Austin space. I hear it's totally just welcoming and just like it's a nice place you want to be around. People you want to be around.
Totally. And I think too, when everyone thinks about like approaching people, it always seems like they think you have to go up to somebody and declare how beautiful you think they are. Like, I think honestly, just what are you drinking? And if they say vodka soda and turn around back to their group of friends, that's a no. And if they say vodka soda, what about you? Like, what's that? Then it's like, it starts a conversation. Like, and if they just turn back to their friends, like, what are they going to say? Oh, this guy asked me what I was having to drink. Like, oh, that's so weird. Like, no, I think if someone's interested, they'll talk to you, and like you give yourself like kind of that cushion with those like lighthearted questions. I also think something I always thought was sexy that a guy would do, if he was like on the other side of the bar and I'd be turning and looking around when they would hold up the drink and they do like a little air cheers and a nod, kind of like something out of like Walker, Texas Ranger. I always thought that was really hot.
I was thinking about The Great Gatsby with Leonardo DiCaprio with fireworks going off behind him and all that.
Just a little cheers, or when you're walking by someone, just the nod, like the nod, or like, hey ladies, like, I always thought that was kind of nice. Yeah,
it shows confidence. He's making eye contact. He's not shy. I mean, he's just assured of himself. Hell yeah. Why not do that? I always try to identify someone's, their what's it. I call it a what's it. Like, everybody always has something on their persons, whether it's a shirt, a piece of jewelry, shoes, that identifies them for who they are. And I always approach with tattoos.
For me, that's what it is. That's what people approach me about, and I'm happy to talk about it. I like it.
Tell me the story behind this. What does this mean? Like, I would always talk about it. And just like when we first started talking, I'm like, hey, this is the story of my life. I'm getting a sleeve, and it was like the barriers a person has. First off, you're not, from a guy standpoint, talking to a woman, you're not identifying something sexual. You're not calling them out like, damn, baby, you look at that ass or whatever. You're just looking at something that's personal to them. And that's on them, so you're calling that out, and the barriers come down. And I think that's a great way to start a conversation. Then, hey, let's get a drink. I want to know more, and just go from there. Just don't make a big deal about it.
Totally. I love that too. Like, if it's a game day, like, wear the shirt for your team. Like, even if it's the opposing team, even if people are, if you're coming from another team and they're telling you hook 'em and you hate the Longhorns, like, it's still an excuse to talk to someone. Like, maybe have some good jokes in your back pocket, but like a sports team's always a good one. A hat from like your hometown or something like that. And then if you notice stuff for other people.
Yeah. Like, and what I also do is I love horror movies. So I have like tons of horror movie t-shirts and heavy metal bands. So if I see another woman with like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we're like, oh, I love that movie. I do too. And then we'll start talking. I've even taught my son how to do that because he has a lot of horror movie shirts. So that's how he breaks the ice with his with girls when he goes to concerts and all that. I'm like, that's my son. It's awesome because, again, a graphic tee says a lot about him. Like what kind of music they like, where they've been, what tour they went to. It says a lot. There's a lot of information there. I don't want to say you can use, but they're telling you a lot about themselves without saying a damn word. And that's a great way to break the ice.
100%.
Damn,
And we're
that's
big
so real.
horror fans too, as well.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, everything.
Yeah,
I feel like we watch
I kind of themed
You
this
see the
room
movies
after
that are behind me? I mean, these are all horror movies.
she's not. Oh.
Yeah, I've kind of themed this room after The Shining. I've
There's
got
a
my
couple,
little
yeah.
mouse pad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. That's the carpet.
Big
Yeah.
fan. No, yeah, I think that I can't see through the glare, but
This
I
is
think
Return of the Living Dead. That's my
Nice.
favorite zombie movie from the 80s. That's Mandy with Nick Cage, and that's the remake for Suspiria.
nice.
I love them all. I've seen them all. And
I love it.
I'm kind of I wanted to show my son Cannibal Holocaust, but I'm like, should I? I'm like, I don't know.
Show him, dude. That movie.
I wasn't ready when I first saw him. Like, I love animals. Like, oh my, what? You know, it freaked me out.
I feel like that was one I couldn't sit through.
gosh.
Terrifier. I was like hiding under a pillow.
Terrifier.
Have you
seen part
I
two?
like it. I like that gory shit.
Terrifier.
Have y'all seen part 2?
Yeah, the bleach scene. I had my face was on a
The
pillow.
bleach scene.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but when I got divorced in 2016, I started a movie review channel on YouTube. I called it Rudy's Movie Reviews, and I do it on the side still, and I still do that. And I love this time of year because I start reviewing horror movies, and a bunch of my friends went and saw Terrifier 2 at the Austin, what was it called? Festival. It's on September. It's like a fan fest or something.
Yeah.
And that's where they premiered Terrifier 2. My friend got to meet the director. He met Art the Clown. He even met Lauren. And I was on a live with her about 6 months ago on his channel when we're talking about Terrifier 2. I was like, so cool. But I love horror movies. And that scene with the bleach, I remember I took my son to a premiere and we're like, I'm sorry, are you okay?
I was glad I was at home in the comfort of my own home for that. That was a lot.
Disgusting.
But yeah, the guy who plays Art the Clown is like the most. I feel like horror. Anyone who's like behind the scenes of horror is like the kindest people ever. Like they just always.
And same thing with the heavy metal community. You go to like a death metal show and they're all the nicest guys in the world.
And they're all like vegan and like anti.
They love cats and dogs and like it's so cool. They're the nicest people in the world. You never would have thought.
Yeah.
But and again, horror movies. I love breaking the ice. And I remember when I was volunteering with Comic Cons, I'd always have a horror movie shirt, and that's how I met women, and that's how I started dating. And I love like my love witch. She loves horror movies, and I just love cuddling, watching a horror movie with her. We watch them twice a week, maybe more, but I just love, it's always great when you can connect with somebody who loves what you love. Cause I've dated women like, you watch horror movies? Oh, I can't sit through them. I don't like the blood. And I'm like, okay, that's a deal breaker for me. I'm sorry. I got to move on.
I am the same way. That's so funny. Yeah. Like I can't, if you're like, oh no, I just don't really like, like, you know what? It's not going to work out.
I can't do it.
It's not going to work out. If you don't have a little freak in you, then I'm sorry, we're done.
Yeah. I wouldn't stop talking to a girl because she loved the Fast and the Furious movies. I'm like, all of them? Even the most recent ones? Like, I can't do this.
All of them?
I mean, the first 3, yeah, but the last one, no, I can't do this. I got to go. Sorry.
You had to get rid of her because she loved all of the Fast and Furious.
I think that's called getting the ick.
That is
that's the ick for me. Like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't do this. No. As a matter of fact, I know we're in the horror movie, off the rails here, but one of my deal breakers was one of my favorite horror movies was Zodiac. That came out in 2008 with Jake Gyllenhaal. I fucking love that movie. And whenever I would date a girl, the final test was, can she sit through this movie? Is she going to be compelled and is she going to love this movie? Or is she going to be bored? And the ones that were bored, I stopped talking to.
Gone. Cut. For real, dude. Oh my God. I'm so with you, Rudy. Yes, for real. That is an excellent movie. You know what mine is? I like practical effects. I don't really love CGI. And if a dude loves a lot of CGI in his movies, I'm like, oh, you're dumb.
Yeah, no. There's no texture to it. It doesn't age well. No.
So you're kind of dumb. Yeah. You can't tell the difference. It takes the suspended disbelief out of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. That's why the prequel that came out, 10 years ago didn't work. Because there's no texture to the animation and all the horror kills. It just didn't work at all. Damn. So we love horror movies, so that's cool. Well, I didn't know that, so we got something else to talk about, right? Other than dating and all that red pill BS.
Yes.
Now let's go real quick to modern dating, and I have some questions. Again, you guys are definitely a lot younger than me, and I wanted to ask. I know people, some, not all, don't want to get married. Some do, and the ones I don't, I completely understand. because everything that you see on social media and how horrible it can be and how it ends and how people just end up ruined. I totally get that. That's not the truth. And there's more to it than that. But as young women, do you think people actually want to get married nowadays? From the female standpoint, what are your thoughts?
So, and I'm trying to think of like the best way to articulate this, because I think I'm now at 30. I feel like probably 2-3 years ago, there was more of this like, or maybe 4, like when we were 25, 26, I feel like there were more of my female friends romanticizing marriage. And now I feel like people are more practical and thoughtful about it. Like there's not this, like, I need my wedding and my big dress. But I think people want to get married. I think a lot of people, particularly after COVID took place, they realize like they don't like wedding culture so much. I feel like I'm seeing a lot more like elopements and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think as a whole, I think people do. I would say do. I would say people like do want to get married, but they're also a bit more thoughtful about it. I think there's a lot less of like hype around wedding culture than there once was. And I think sometimes there's women who want to get married for just the wedding. Like it's, when you talk about, why do you want to get married? All they talk about is the wedding. I think people are seeing less of that. I think, and maybe it just comes from, maybe seeing a lot of like layoffs and stuff like that right now, like just having, that protection with your partner. Like I've known people where someone got laid off and they lost like their health insurance or something like that. And like, if you're married to somebody that has health insurance, like it gives you kind of that cushion, like the tax benefits.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
People buying a home, and it's like, buying a house with someone you're not married to. So I think there's those like practical reasons, but those are all with people who, know each other very well and have been in like a serious long-term relationship. So I think as a whole, people, like, I feel like on TikTok, I see a lot more of the like, oh no, like they're just going to steal half your money in a way that's like very, very negative that I don't see. But at the same time, I'm also not seeing like the other end of the spectrum where it's all rainbows, butterflies.
Yes.
That'll make sense.
I agree. And Annabelle, your thoughts? Do you think young people still want to get married? Is that still a goal?
For me, the way that I see it, and I've like been in a lot of relationships, I've had like a lot of relationships growing up, a lot of different kinds of people. And at this point in my life, I'm like, yeah, I would love to get married, and I think I would be good at it. But I'm a lot more like when I'm dating somebody, I'm a lot more focused on like, I care more about like the sustainability of the relationship, because I just have a stronger concept of like the rest of your life. Like, I think sometimes people like will propose to their, significant other being like, oh, I love you. But it's like the rest of your life is long. And like, is this sustainable? Can you get through hardship together? Like, I'm thinking about the more serious things as I have gotten older.
And that's wise. I mean, I'm glad. And none of you are married, right? I mean, you're dating. Okay. And
no.
And you're 30, and Annabelle, you're how old?
I'm 28.
Okay. And I respect that, because again, when I was single, I was just hanging around a bunch of people, and I just had a lot of female friends, and I saw it happen right before me where one of the women get engaged. And all of a sudden it's like this infectious idea that spreads. And I remember hearing this one woman say, well, I'm gonna force my boyfriend. Yeah, I know he's not ready, but if he loves me, we're going to do it. I'm like, as the older guy, like, don't do that. It's going to fail. You're setting yourself up for failure. Like, no. I love him, and I know he's got some problems, but I'll work on him. I'll get him to where he needs to be. I'm like, don't do that. Listen to me. I just got divorced. Don't do this. And they went ahead and did it. And then it's like this, everybody who starts to get married, and I get it, the pressure of being there and like the excitement of planning a wedding and sharing those photos on social media. I get that. But I think one of the main reasons why marriages are failing is not because of the bodies you had before you get married, or you got a college degree like these idiot shows are saying. It's that you're rushing into it and you really don't know the person. And I applaud people like you.
After the wedding, like you get married, awesome, but life continues, and it didn't like change the other person's feelings towards you.
Exactly. And I respect those like you who are been patient and selective with not rushing into a situation. Because I don't know y'all that well, but I'm pretty sure maybe there was a moment in your past where somebody maybe proposed and it was all right there, and you chose maybe to say no.
Yeah, and something I also think too, and it's frustrating because it's like a lot of those like alpha bro podcast people will say things like, women that are 30, once you're 30, you're done. Like go get your value is at 22 or something like that. I think like 30 is a great age to get married.
That's perfect.
I think like kind of all my friends that I know that waited longer, some of them had like shorter relationships leading into their marriage, but they were just so much more sure. I've known some people that were in kind of that 24, 25, 26 years old at their marriage age range, and they just changed so much, and it didn't last. Like it was, they were totally different people at that age than they were at 30.
Completely different.
Yeah, I think like kind of when you take, I think, wedding culture out of it, and when you're a bit older, I think when you kind of there are the protections that come with marriage, especially if you want to have a family and children. I think when it's more about that, I think that's when I think people are a lot more healthy about it. But yeah, when you're younger, especially too, when you're like 25, 26 as a woman, it's like, oh, I want to get to wear the pretty dress and walk down the aisle, and you've got your Pinterest board. When you get older, you sort of, I feel like, grow out of that a little bit, which is, I think,
and that's good.
Waiting.
And I hope more women and men, take that advice and roll with that mentality, because again, I get the pressure of wanting to get that off your checklist, and you don't want to be left behind or be that one single woman when all your friends are married and having kids and all that. I get that pressure, but I think more people just were patient. And like I've said, at 47, I got married at 22, and I was married 16 years. Wow. Dedicate your 20s to yourself. Mm-hmm. Find out who you are as an individual, your sexual interests, whatever they are, because I'm getting emails from men and women. It's weird. I don't ask for these stories, but people confess why their marriage fell apart. There's women who said, my husband's gay. He's been living a lie for 8 years. I didn't know he was gay. I caught him with another man.
Wow.
And I don't know how to feel about that. I found out my wife is bisexual, and that she wants to be with another woman. I'm not ready for that. And I'm like, well, why weren't you honest up front?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And they're pretending to be somebody they're not. And again, at 21, 23, who has that bravery to tell the love of their lives, right? That they are.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my God.
Yeah. And you wouldn't, you wouldn't even know about that because you probably wouldn't have explored it that much. Like, I feel like when I was younger, my relationship with sex, that's why I think like when all these like podcasts are asking like, what's the body count? Because they just don't know what else to ask. Like, they don't really know anything beyond like, have you done it at all? But like knowing relationship to sex and like what that looks like to you is super important. And that comes with like some discovery of sorts, but you don't know that when you're younger. And then when you're older, things can just change so much, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And, I when I say people that you should explore your sexuality, for those who are listening, I'm not saying go get 100 bodies and, sleep with everybody, but no, just if you have an interest, don't be ashamed to explore that. Don't, go and see what that is, because the last thing you want to do is be living a lie like these stories that I'm getting, 10 years in, 8 years in, and you're not attracted to your husband because you want a woman, or you're gay and you're pretending to be a straight alpha male man.
Oh my gosh. Crazy. It's crazy. And it like shakes up just more than just that person's life. It shakes up everybody's life that's involved.
Yeah.
Like,
and then there's kids involved too, because you wanted the kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So be honest with yourself before you say I do. And I had a question about sexual aggression. As modern dating, would you see men and women? Who's more sexual aggressive nowadays? Is it the men or the women? Because I have my thoughts, but what are your thoughts?
So it's interesting because I think it's a little more of like a I don't know if it's gendered. I do think some things that have kind of come up, I think just with how things have gotten with like being online, like a lot of people taking videos of stuff. Like I think there's guys that are kind of afraid to like, approach or be too bold when they do approach. So, maybe they're taking less, bold approaches that maybe would come off as a bit more sexual. Like nowadays, I think that's something that's a bit different just because of, how much stuff is being filmed, all that. And I think it is more accepting for, women to go and, and have kind of these more like, I don't know, innuendo style ways of approaching people in ways that are fun. And it's more acceptable, I think, for women to, have those sexual interests and talk about them versus like, oh, like that's dirty. Go wash your mouth out with soap. Like grandma telling you to go do that.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the person. Cause I've known women where they're like, they're like, I'm such a sexual person. I need that chemistry. And, I've met men where it's just like, it's emotions first. I think it really just depends. I wonder what it comes down to, but I feel like it really isn't as gendered as maybe some think it is. I don't know. What's your take?
That's a safe answer.
That's a safe answer. I won't give you one of those, but I'm curious to hear what your opinion is, Rudy. But so speaking from experience, so I work in a tattoo shop, and there seems to be this kind of like myth that like, oh, girls are just female tattooers are tattooing like horny dudes all day long. Absolute opposite. The people I tattoo are so sweet and normal, but like my male coworkers, oh my God, it's crazy. And it probably has a lot to do with like the fact that my male coworkers and like just male friend tattooers, like they are touching you for a really long time. And like for some people that's like therapeutic and they like lose sense of a boundary, but like they get it so much more aggressively than I have ever gotten it.
From women are just more aggressive.
Yes.
Touching?
Yeah. They're aggressive, like in person, dude, that take their tops off and just want to do it like topless. They're diving in the DMs. They are like, that's a very real thing. I mean,
my friend's a tattoo owner. He's told me stories and he's invited me to like, hey, we're going to do this. Do you want to do her? Like, no, I'm good. I'm fine.
Oh my God, dude. It used to be much, much worse. I started up in the industry at a time when like those kinds of things were like mostly in check, but definitely women are like confident to a point where I know that sometimes it makes like my male coworkers uncomfortable because they're doing their job. Like it would make anyone uncomfortable, but but
so you're saying that women are more aggressive?
Yes, I am saying that, but I would love to know what you think.
Well, and again, I've shared this before, but like I said, I got married and I was married 16 years, right? I was with one woman 20 years if you include the dating. So I hadn't dated since the 90s. And that was that was another world. That was another world. Totally different, right? You needed to have game smell good, go up to them, ask them to dance, ask them on a date, put the number in the black book, then maybe hook up the next day. I don't know, the next week, whatever the case was. But when I started dating, I was shocked how aggressive sexually women were. And they were the ones just coming on to me. Like, I remember I shared the story where I'm driving this one woman to go see John Wick 2. And she's like, you want me to suck your dick? And I'm like, what? Like now? I'm like, not later. Well, I mean, if you want.
That's dangerous.
but fun. And it hadn't, that has never happened to me. I've never done that. Here at 39, I'm doing things that I fantasize about, but I'm finally getting the opportunity to do it. And I'm doing things with women that I could never ask my ex-wife, and I'm having fun, but they were the ones pursuing it. Like you know what?
When women, I think when women are like sexually liberated, they are horny.
Yeah.
Like when they always fully, like in charge of their own sexuality, they're horny. Yeah.
They always offered BJs and sex.
They always offered BJs for some reason.
Always first. I'm like, sure. I mean, I didn't even ask or like do anything aggressive. I'm like, sure, why not? So
it's
that
like
was always offered.
Service. You're just like,
yes,
I just want to do it. It's so nice.
They would even say, they would even say, I can record it for you and send it to you later. I'm like, sure, go ahead. Let me set up a drive on Google, and we'll send it that way. But I was just amazed how often that happened with really no effort from me. I didn't really try, and it was happening. And I'm like, I could not believe that.
When I was single, I felt like I was like trying to get dudes to talk to me. I felt like I had to like actively try to like, fuck, man. I'm jealous of you guys now.
The most I did was make them laugh. I would make them laugh, and I guess that was what worked. I don't know, but
you're perfect.
Well, I think
I don't know what it was.
I think what it goes to show though too is like, I think a lot of people have put a lot of hype into, all the women are scary and evil and mean. It's like, no, if you have a fun personality, like people want to talk to you, like women. I think something too, like that comes kind of with the women being more sexual. I think like women do like what I would call like a safe adventure. Like I feel like once women, like they feel safe with you, like then like I think the floodgates open. Cause I think like I don't see as many people be like sexual towards strangers. Like it's not in the form of like, they come up to you and grab you in a weird place and they don't even know you at all. But I think I've known a lot of friends where like they've said, I'm so excited to get they get into a relationship. They're like, I'm so excited. All these things I've heard about, I can try. Like I have a person I can do this with. I think there's like that sense of like, once a woman feels safe, like the
horny
gloves come off.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And this also ties to the question I asked earlier: are men and women still looking to get married? I think, honestly, as a young man or men out there, I'm pretty sure there's other guys who are living what I lived, where women who just wanted to be fuck buddies or just friends with benefits, and they would always text me, "I'm not going to catch feelings. Don't worry. I know you just got divorced. I'll be cool. I'll be the cool girl." They'd always send me that, and yeah, guys had a roster. I had like 4 or 5, whatever, and I think, if that's their energy, who am I to judge? We're all open. We're all not lying to each other, and we're not, setting anybody up to fail or doing anything dishonest. But I think a lot of guys have that situation. And I think that's why you may get inconsistency with guys and how they talk to you and why they won't commit, because there's so many options out there that are willing to play their game. When I wouldn't even say their game, maybe it's the female game. I don't know, just that game of not committing and just getting what they want. And I think that's why a lot of men aren't committing to it, or maybe they're just not being 100% clear with you.
Yeah.
Damn, that's so real. That is so true. I totally went through that recently. It's frustrating as fuck to get to ask a man to commit to you when he has like these kinds of loose options, and it makes me want to like scream at those girls and be like, "Go, get your own. You can do better. Don't do this. You don't have to play this dumb game." Like,
I also think sometimes it even isn't so much like having the tangible option. It's just the idea that there could be somebody else. Like, it's like, oh, like this person was interested in this kind of adventure. What else is out there? Like, if this person wants to do, I'll fill myself in the car. What's going on over here? So I think it's like a paradox. There is the illusion of having more choices because of the dating apps, or you open your phone, you see Instagram people in your city that appear single. So I think it's like, if I could find this with this person, what else? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know that doesn't speak for every person out there. I'm pretty sure there's some guys listening who are like, that's not my case. I can't even get one date. I'm like, well, that's another conversation. But for those who can, I mean, it's just, there's an open market out there. And, eventually I got tired of it. You get tired of it because it's the same thing. And I remember one moment when I found that there was no substance. I had all the fun I can have, but I remember the substance piece, that's when I started to look for that, was when my dad had a heart attack. This happened in 2018. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And I started calling. I'm like, hey, I just need somebody to be with. Like, no, I'm with my boyfriend, or I'm with my friend. I'm doing this. They like, you're nothing. You're just a dick. You're just fun. And when life hits you, none of them came around. So I'm like, oh, this is what matters. Whoa. What I'm feeling is what matters. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm done with that life. I did my thing. Now I was trying to find something serious. So that's what I was starting to look for. And that was the difference.
Yeah. Damn. Well, I mean, yeah, it's, I wonder if it's different for like men and women, that like wake up call, the wake up call, your like hoe face, basically. Like, what is it that hits you? And yeah, I feel like for men, a lot of times it is like a really like life rattling, like thing. And for women, I feel like it's just kind of like getting older, and like you just deal with enough like bullshit that you're just like, I'm done. If it's not serious, I don't want it.
Do you think it's bullshit? Or I know from the men's side, once they see their looks kind of going and their options not as vast, then they start looking. Does the same apply with women, you think?
I think it might just happen on its, like, I don't know that anyone looks in the mirror and says, oh gosh, like this is, it's only downhill from here. But I think like,
biological clock is part of it, I think.
Yeah, I think like people, maybe they're all of a sudden they're getting less matches on the dating apps, and all of a sudden they're more tired than they were like a year ago. All of a sudden it's 10 o'clock and they want to go home and go to bed. And then it like, they hit up their friends and, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, like we're taking the baby out to Disneyland or something like that. So I think it like, there's like kind of I feel like there's almost like a social clock where people want to grow up with their friends, where it kind of like, I think kind of happens. I do think too, though, I think like a big life-changing incident, like I know one of my closest friends, something I think maybe kind of pushed her relationship into an engagement was like when her father passed away. Cause I think it's when you really kind of, you evaluate what matters and whatnot. So I have heard like the, big life-changing event. And then, I think the, just growing up naturally comes with, kind of that wake-up call as well.
Yeah, it gives you a different perspective. And again, I've had stories where guys, wives tell me like, my husband wants a divorce. He had a heart attack and he almost died. And, after he recovered, he said, life's short. I want a divorce. So he wanted to go live and do his thing. And I'm like, wow. So yeah, life events do give you different perspective on life.
I'm sure there was more to it, you know? Like,
oh, yeah.
I'm sure it was like...
Oh, yeah, I'm sure way more.
I'm sure he wasn't
but,
madly in love with his wife and then like woke up and was like, never mind. Like I'm just plenty going on.
They just needed a reason or something to come up. Like, okay, we're going to use this as a platform to jump off. We're going to get a divorce and so be it. But yeah, those are my thoughts with modern dating as far as, and again, thank you for yours. If anybody's truly looking for a commitment, because again, it's just so easy to meet people. You don't even have to put in work. You can just be on your phone at home watching, whatever. And you just meeting people left and right. And that can be addicting. I was addicted to that. And I don't know if I know people say they want marriage and they want that commitment. And again, everyone's interests are different, but I think if they're still able to play the game and get what they want, that's the last thing on their mind until something happens. So, I don't know. Yeah,
I think, because I think of there's definitely single guys that are kind of the same age I am that I probably haven't seen in a while because they're out doing their own thing. But yeah, I think if you're a guy with money and you live in a fun big city with infinite options, I think something that comes with Austin too is I think, Annabelle mentioned kind of this feeling of adult Disneyland or adult summer camp where people move here and, it's not really their home yet. It almost people move here and they kind of have it in the back of their minds, I'm not going to be here forever. And they don't really make it home in a way where there's sort of this seeming of, it sort of seems like they feel like there's no long-term consequences here. Or it's just I can always just bounce back home if, I kind of break someone's heart or something like that. There's just this feeling of temporariness that I think brings, kind of that disposability.
Like going to Vegas? Like going to Vegas? Yeah,
it's a long-term, people move here, they come from another city, everyone else is a transplant. People are coming and going. Because I've seen a lot of people move here, I've also seen a lot of people leave. I feel like a trend that I've seen with my group of friends is, the marriage comes and then they have the baby and oh my gosh, it's really hard to take care of the baby. And then they move back to their hometown to be close to grandma and grandpa.
Friends,
and so sense. It almost seems like there's this kind of feeling of Austin is this temporary stay while I'm young and fun to it.
Okay. Now I have some questions that were sent directly from the guys. These are I get the questions all the time, but these are the 3 questions guys have sent me and I wanted to ask you. Now these weren't on the bullet points I sent you, so this is going to be kind of random, okay? But question 1 is, why do women prefer assholes over nice guys?
It's such a...
So I think.
Oh my gosh.
I'll go. My. So I think
lot to unpack.
Lot to unpack.
Let's unpack it. Let's do it.
So I think we're mislabeling certain things. So I think a lot of women like what I would call a safe adventure that I wouldn't necessarily call an asshole. I think people are very quick to think guy with the motorcycle who likes going out to concerts and doing fun stuff is just an asshole because he's got a leather jacket on or something like that. I think women like an adventure, and I think there's a kind of a confidence that comes with that kind of adventure bad boy look to him. A lot of the kind of bad boy types that I would go for were actually very nice people. Maybe if you didn't know them that well, you wouldn't know, but it was kind of, they had that adventure sense to them. They were very confident. And also I think they were very much I'm doing this, you're either with me or not. It wasn't they weren't kind of pining, they didn't feel desperate. It was kind of cool, I'm on board. So I wouldn't have called them assholes. I think what happens though is, when you get out of a relationship with somebody, a person that's totally nice and is a great person at the end of the day. What happens? You're in a frustrated mood and you call them an asshole. And I think sometimes the guys that are, the nice guys are hearing oh, he's such an asshole. And they think this guy just must have been an asshole. And I think you're kind of hearing about, someone who's been broken up with. I've called perfectly nice guys assholes because, I was just a jilted, angry person. So I think that maybe is where it comes from. And then I think kind of the women don't like nice guys. I think the problem that comes with the nice guy thing too is, and it happens when you're a kid. I remember when I was younger and there would be boys in class that had a crush on me or something like that. And I didn't know how to handle it. I would be in middle school, high school or something like that. And it would be distracting. And I remember I would even like, it came up with like a school counselor or something like that. And she said, well, like what you should do, like always like sandwich with a compliment, like, just say, you're a nice guy, but I just see you as a friend. And I think this is something that's taught to girls when they're young. And I think it's stuck with a lot of women when they're rejecting a guy. It's like, I just see you as a friend and, you're so nice. It's just something that you can come up with. You can call anybody nice for any reason. Usually this guy is behaving nice, but I think because it's sort of like instilled in women, like when you're rejecting someone, you almost have to like give them compliments because it's hard to reject somebody. Then all of a sudden we've gotten, friend zone and women love, don't like nice guys. Like I think that's my take. But yeah, I remember growing up, it was always like, oh, if you don't like him back, just say, I just see you as a friend. You're so nice. Okay. And so it's like kind of instilled. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. That is true. That is kind of gnarly. I guess from a different sort of perspective, I will say, and I think my issue here is women think like assholes and don't like nice guys. I think all women like different things. And for me, right. I mean, of course, I don't represent all women in dating, but I don't like a mild personality. I want like a lot of personality. And sometimes that like contains extremities. So like, he is kind of like tough punk dude, but like he's really sweet to me. Like that kind of thing I actually appreciate. I like a passionate man. I like a man, with like a lot of personality to kind of match me. And so I can see why that would come off as an asshole sometimes, but it's just what I prefer.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, a passion and just like a lust for what you do. Like, I think everybody should have a passion, right? But I don't know if that confuses as asshole, because I think what guys, when they say that, let's just kind of go with the internet stereotypes, right? They mean the guy who's just like not treating them respectfully, who's kind of like being rude to them, maybe dismissive, and
you
cheats
mean being
on her.
Rude specifically to the woman that he is dating, as
right. I'm trying to think of the stereotypes they showcase.
Got it. Yeah.
I think that's what they mean. But I understand what you're talking about, because that's what I look for. And, you have to have a passion about something.
Yeah.
But
totally.
But go ahead with the answer. I'm sorry, but the.
Totally. No, I was just, I didn't know if you were talking about like the man is perceived as an asshole to people outside of this relationship, as opposed to like girls like it when a man is an asshole to them. Yeah.
I guess that's all I was going for. I'm sorry for not phrasing the question.
No, that's okay. I guess I don't like when a man is an asshole to me, but I do still like a little bit of combat,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, you don't want somebody who was agreeing with you, right? With every topic. I mean, that kind of gets boring and repetitive. You want to have that debate and back and forth. I mean, that's
like,
just.
So you just want to fuck? Like, it's what like, yeah. Why are you just agreeing with me? Fight with me.
Say something like you agree with everything. Like, I agree with you. Like, come on, dude. You don't have a personality or opinions of your own, dude. Come on.
Yes, exactly.
Jesus.
Exactly.
We literally just talked about this on our podcast. I do think sometimes the asshole thing. I think there's a lot of like hindsight is 2020, because a lot of times like when women are, going down that road with, this certain type of guy that seems to get a lot of women and, wants a bunch of casual things, like he's nice in the moment. And I think that type of guy genuinely believes he's nice. A lot of times it's like the he's an asshole comes with, a few months in, and then all of a sudden he's sending the text of like, he cancels a date at the last minute, or, oh yeah, I'll be out tonight. Where are you going to be? And then all of a sudden he's nowhere to be reached. And then it's like, the next day, and then you see an Instagram story and you realize he was with another girl, then he's an asshole or something like that. So I think like there's sort of this like cartoonish perception of like, that women are just okay with a guy who will just spit in their face or something like that. I think a lot of times there's a realization of assholishness that kind of that comes up, and a lot of times these guys don't think of themselves as being an asshole. They think they're just floating. They think they're having fun and floating through life and trying to be honest, and just stuff happened. I think when women call these guys assholes, it's not like the guys spitting in their eye or anything. It's retroactive, I would say.
What's your definition? I guess kind of, guys, how guys are. They want stats, they want definitions to terms and all that stuff. And I think that's why your platform is doing so well. What is a nice guy?
So I think there's the buzzword nice guy, and then there's a nice person. And I usually like the word kind a little bit better than nice, just to distinguish the two. I think there's a version of guy who uses niceness in a performative way, and it's not genuine. Like it's they think of it as, I'm going to put some kindness coins into a machine, and love and sex is going to come out. So they say, I'm going to go. I'm going to say, oh, do you need any help moving across town? And then, the woman says, thinks they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Like, why else would someone offer to move? Kind of weird. And then, lo and behold, he does this thing she didn't even ask for. And then says, okay, cool. Where's my my gift and my, relationship in return? It's kind of like, that's where it becomes nice guy, where it's like, you almost have this like implied, like you think there's like this contract or, kind of business deal.
This entitlement, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The entitlement. And it's kind of frustrating because I feel like when you're a little kid, like I think it goes back to being a little kid too, where it's like, oh, you want someone to like you, go do something nice for them. And then I think it kind of puts us in a position like that as adults. Because usually I think with most other parts of life, like people maybe would be receptive if it's more like friendship or something like that. Like, but yeah, I would say that would be like the nice guy. And then of course there's just being a genuinely nice person and not expecting anything in return. And if something happens, great. And if not, okay, like I'll be on my way kind of thing.
Okay. Do you have a definition, Annabelle, for the nice guy?
I kind of like, I almost won't let a guy be a nice guy because I don't want them to get the wrong idea or to like lead them on, like if a man is like offering to do stuff for me, I will either like say, thank you, no, thank you, or just be like explicitly clear about my boundaries. And if he still is like, no, dude, I'm doing this as your friend, then I'm like, okay, thank you so much. And I just don't like to have any type of debt towards anyone. So from there on out, like I try to, return the favor or whatever. I won't just like accept favors from men and be like, ciao, thank you. Like I'm gonna, like this is a relationship now. So yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. Because some guys like, hey, I'll fix your AC. We had car trouble. I'll change the alternator. Totally. They'll volunteer services, but that's kind of like from some guys, not all. That's their way in.
I feel
to
like
be next to you, see you off work. Just to kind of spend time with you.
Yes, exactly. Ew. Yeah, definitely.
When you say it out loud like that, it sounds kind of creepy. Like that's what they're doing.
Right.
No. As I got older, I realized kind of the same thing. Like I also I operate on the principle of I'm not that great. Like even if someone's like, I want to take you out to dinner, would be like, I want to take you out to dinner, like a really nice first date. I'd be like, what's the catch here? In a sense of like, someone doing like a little bit too much. Like I think, as women get older, they're better at like putting a stop to that or declining if something just feels like it's, could be used as like a nice guy type barter, I guess what you'd call it.
Okay. Let's see. I know I got you guys to 8:30, so that's like another 15 minutes. You guys got a hard stop at 8:30?
We can keep going. Yeah, we're totally good.
Okay. I just got two more questions. I just want to rush through them because this one, again, I know you probably answered this, Charlotte, but I want to go ahead and do it again. The other question that the guys are asking is on the Red Pill shows, right? Is it true that women want a guy over 6 foot with muscles and money? Is that all women are looking for?
No. First off, okay, the 6 foot thing. I'm 5'2". I can't speak for women who are, 5'9", 5'10", 5'11". I firmly believe nobody knows how tall men are. I think men don't know how tall men are because they never go to the doctor. And they know, no, they don't. I think guys they see, oh, that guy across from me says he's 5'10". I think I'm an inch taller than him. I guess I'm 5'11". I really think like it is frustrating that the dating apps have kind of put this like, very hard, very like numbered limit to it. And then of course, like someone made up this slogan of 6 foot, 6 figures, 6-pack thing. That was very, I think that's a little overblown. I think if a woman's talking to you in a public place, you've approached her, she's fine with how tall you are. But yeah, I think there can be that sort of feeling of like, oh, over 6 feet. But I think most women, like once they realize how tall that is, they're kind of like, it's fine. I think it's also relative to how tall a woman, like how tall a woman is. Like I said, I'm 5'2". Kind of like I can't speak for the women who are like 5'10". When it comes to, the other stuff, six pack, I don't know anybody with a 6-pack unless they are a fitness instructor or something like that. Like I think if you're in a very specific, like I don't think I could see anybody saying I need all three, 6 feet, 6-pack, 6-figure. Because I think you almost have to have like one. You get one of the three in a way. But yeah, like I haven't met anyone with a 6-pack since I turned 25. So no. And then the 6-figure thing, I think it's so fun. Those types of podcasts are so hung up on like 6 figures as like, this like magic number where they think like once you make 6 figures, you can afford a private jet. And if you make less than that, you're just like a schmuck.
Very good point.
That's one of those things that's relative. I also think it's relative to like where you hang out and like how old you are. Like something that has come with like being older and like kind of like being in tech. Like I think by default, a lot of the people I'm surrounded with like do have like higher incomes. But it wouldn't be like this hard stop. Like I'm expecting it. Oh my God, you make less than this amount. I think also something that is important to me way more than the income is like just overall financial health. Like, and not, and this is something you can kind of see. Like who cares how much money you make if you have a gambling problem? So I think that kind of thing matters when I think it goes to show how young these podcasts are when they're just so hung up on income. Like I think debt counts for something, like, spending, gambling, shopping addictions, all of that. So I care more about like that debt to income, but it's not in this like, how much money do you make? It's more like, how much money did you spend this weekend? And you do what? Okay. Like that seems a little off, like that kind of thing.
Very good point. Yeah. Like how much did you spend on drinks? How much? How many rounds did you buy? Like, whoa.
Yeah, like that's something I'm more like concerned about. And yeah, like I said, it's not this like how much money do you make? It's a lot more fluid than that, I would say. Okay. What's your take?
Yeah, definitely. I was totally gonna say like my first concern. I feel like all of those other things are like little extras on top. My first concern is like, is he employed and does he have a hobby? Like, is he like a person with passion that is like going kind of in the right direction? But height has like never mattered to me actually, like at all. I don't know, if you're like short or shorter than 6 feet or whatever, like just be a daddy about it, like just be hot about it. Be confident. And that's like,
I'm so sorry. It cut off like 10 seconds ago. You're talking about height and it cut off. I didn't hear anything. So
I said, if you are shorter than 6 feet, just be a daddy about it. Like be confident and be like hot about it. And like, nobody cares. Nobody cares, dude. Short guys are hot. Like I don't think that, height has never like played, at least I don't think it plays that much into anyone's, prospective like partners. But
Charlotte, you said you're 5'4" or 5'5", I'm sorry?
5'2".
5'2", and Annabelle, you're how tall?
I'm 5'5".
5'5", okay. So as long as he's taller than you, is that what most women want?
Yeah, I think so. My height or taller. But I've dated plenty of people who are my height, like legit my height. Couldn't wear heels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the muscles and the money? Well, you talked about the money. I'm so sorry, but yeah, okay.
He doesn't need to make a lot of money. I just would prefer that like he's employed and I'm not going to be supporting this man, because I've done that so many fucking times and it just is so exhausting. I just want like a man who fucking has a job.
What about the 6-pack thing?
The 6-pack thing? What? No, not a thing. Yeah. I don't give a shit. If he has a 6-pack, like he's doing steroids.
Very, very good point. Yeah.
I know what it looks
probably at the gym 8 hours a day or something like that, dedicated to doing that or something. Yeah. So
my other take on the kind of the fitness and the muscles and stuff too, because I'm active. I like to be outside. Like I'll run a turkey trot on Thanksgiving, like that kind of thing. But like sometimes I think if they're too into fitness, I'm like, oh, like I like doing my Saturday brewery tours and stuff like that. Like. So I worry that it comes with the lifestyle of them being like, oh, we're going to meal prep instead of like, try that new restaurant. So I mean, don't be, glued to your couch. Like, but usually if you're someone that's like active out and about, like you stay healthy and you have balance, like you still look good. No, not a 6-pack, but you look good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you both answered that. Because again, I totally don't believe that bullshit. If you are 6 foot, if you have muscles and money, yes, you are going to have an easier time maybe having women approach you or maybe getting a date. But one vital piece that they never mention, and it's what you needed in the 90s to be successful, was charisma. You needed charm. You needed
Riz.
personality.
Riz.
You needed to make people feel safe. That what? Riz? Is that what they
Riz
call
and
it?
some charisma.
Riz is the word Riz is the kids these days are saying it. It's short for charisma.
Okay, there you go. That's what they never talk about. There's never any podcast about how to be charming and just being charismatic and being a gentleman. And that's what you needed, like I said before, social media to be successful. And that's a vital piece. You can have all these items that they're saying, money, wealth, and 6 foot, whatever. But if you're a dick and you can't carry conversation, no one's going to want to. You're going to have nothing sustainable, nothing long term.
Yeah.
You maybe hook up, but there's nothing that's going to be there.
Dude,
And they don't
for
ever
real,
teach that.
If you can make a girl laugh, she'll suck
Yes.
your dick.
Yes, I'm a living testament to that. That's all I did. Yeah, exactly.
And it's true. And you know what? It's true.
Yes, it is true. Humor, making them laugh. I mean, yes. I mean, not taking yourself too seriously, but, being authoritative, not, just being yourself. I think what I found successful is that if you're comfortable in your own skin and you can make them laugh and you don't come with any preconceived notions or pressure and just kind of going with the moment, they really appreciate that. They really did. And that's what worked for me. And again, I'm 5'9". I've shrunk into 5'8". Apparently when you get older, you can shrink. So son of a bitch, I'm now 5'8". But I've only had the height item come up a couple of times, and they prefer taller men. I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'll just move on to the next. I didn't take it personal. I mean, I can't help that. That's their preference. I have mine. And I think the same thing goes for like men. You see all these BBL women on IG with huge breasts. And yes, it's a fantasy. Yes, we find it sexually attractive, but no one wants to date that. Nobody truthfully wants that. Maybe we want to hook up with her and, maybe have a fling, but no one wants that as a long-term marriage. Truthfully, to be honest, the guys prefer they prefer just a regular woman.
Yeah. Somebody who, and also, it's like somebody who lives so much on the internet. Like, I feel like that has to affect their personality in a lot of ways. Like, it's fine to see it on the other side of a screen, but to like live with somebody, who's like cartoonish in that way, like would be really.
And I've dated a couple women. And I've mentioned this. It was very difficult because everywhere we went, they always got attention. They always got approached by all these men, the owner or something like that, just courting them. Welcome here. Like all these guy friends that they met. I'm like, okay, it didn't bother me at first, but then it kept happening everywhere we went. And of course there's messages, their DMs, I guess, blew up with all these guys. And I was like, no, that's not for me. Because it felt like I was just a placeholder for something until something better came around.
Did she reassure you? Would she ever like reassure you that? Yeah, see, that's
never.
Where
it was more like, look what he sent me. Isn't he funny? I'm like, isn't that the guy you told me that's been bothering you?
I think you can totally date a baddie if like they are like really reciprocal and make you feel secure. Like that's important. But it's the internet persona, like the like YouTube-y personality persona, like that permeates real life. And I feel like it's got to be so difficult, like when attention in that way like comes into your relationship.
Yeah, so it's not for me. So again, there's two extremes that we've talked about them already, and again, that's not the norm, and that's, I think, truthfully, what people aren't looking for. I think personality goes a long way. I've known guys who were not the most attractive guy ever, and I always talked about this one friend of mine. We called him Baby J. His name was John. He was the best dancer. And he was in the Air Force, and we go to the clubs every Saturday in the late 90s. And again, he was 5'5", but he can dance. Any song, country, hip hop, it didn't matter. He was charming. He was always telling jokes. And every weekend he went home with the hottest woman. And here we are, all these other guys hating, like, what the hell's going on? But no, he was just charming. And when a person's that charming and fun, it's like people gravitate to that. Yeah. They want to be around the nice guy, the fun guy who's just making everybody feel warm and, fun. Totally. And he always went home with the hot girl.
Well, and I've seen that happen before. Like there was the guy that Alice dated who was probably like 5'3" or something like that. And he just had this dynamic personality. I think what's hard about it though, is like a lot of times when people are struggling with dating, maybe they're struggling socially as a whole. And when you tell them, here, what can you do to make, women more attracted to you? When you tell them social skills, it's like this big intangible that maybe is hard for them to read. Yeah, because if you just say social skills, they're like, okay, but I'm in this club, I'm in this group, I have this status. It's like, no, it's not about the status and the titles. It's like, can a room of people, there's a room of people excited to see you there, and they're kind of like, what are you talking about? So it's hard. It's one of those intangibles that really, I think, matters a lot. It's hard. Yeah.
It's crazy how much of charisma in a man like really just comes from him asking questions. If you are with a woman who you are just meeting and you're like, I don't know how to be cool, I don't know what to, literally just ask her questions about her life. Ask a question, she starts to answer. Ask a tangential question. Like that, men underestimate how much like women like love to talk like that and like talk about themselves. And if you just ask questions about her life, she'd be like, holy shit, like he cares about like how many siblings I have and where I'm from and stuff like that, and like what I'm passionate about. Like that's Riz to me.
Yeah, you're making them feel like the center of the universe, and your attention solely on them.
Yeah.
And you know what? And even in sales, that's what you do in sales. As you know, you make the person feel like the center of the earth. Like you ask them questions, you figure out what they're looking for, and you're asking them to find out, you know, the truth, and then get the barriers out of the way. It's the same thing, and I think guys just don't understand that. But these simple conversations is really the fundamentals. I think, if anything, if you want to be successful in business, relationships, your networking, you need that. And I think guys just don't talk about that enough. It's all this materialistic bullshit about looks and money. Well, that's great and all, but that's not what the essential pieces that you need.
Yeah. I think what's hard about that is those things are tangible. And like you tell them social skills, it's kind of like, what does that mean? You tell them 6 figures or 6 feet or something like that, or, you know, go have the status, go have the car. It's like, oh, here's a tangible thing I can get. And it's like, the intangibles matter so much.
Yeah. And plus people always remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
Yeah. They will always remember that. So
if a guy is if he's feeling bitter, if he's upset about the last girl and he takes that into a conversation with me, I can feel it. I can feel it. If I feel like I have to jump through a hoop to prove I'm like one of the good ones, it's like, this is not going to be a fun interaction.
Oh my God.
And it makes everything so uncomfortable, right?
Oh. Yeah.
It's like,
I bet you're.
Yeah, it's like you're asking me to be like the cooler girl and be like, yeah, she's so crazy. I'm different. I don't like her.
And I've seen that firsthand where, you know, just some of my friends, like they hooked up with a girl and they're just kind of not hooked up, but they're just at a bar talking, but I know he's still bitter about his ex. But once the drinks start flowing, you know, that anger just comes out of nowhere, and the tone of the table just changes. You can feel everybody getting uncomfortable. Like, you all right, man? Let's go outside. We're going to take a walk. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Calm down, man.
Yeah. You can feel the negativity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when people say, you know, fake it, no, that's like a temporary shield. And I know women know of somebody who's fake and when they're not being authentic. You guys can feel that like a reptilian sense in a way. So maybe that can work for a little bit, but in the long term, no. Those scars are going to come out, and that animosity you have is going to come out. So don't do it, guys.
Absolutely. Don't do it.
Last question, and this is going to be kind of a deep one. Okay. So I want to ask you both, because you both, Charlotte, especially, you study about dating, you know what guys are going through, and Annabelle, I'm pretty sure you've seen your sister's PowerPoints, maybe by, you know, request or maybe by not. I don't know. But I wanted to ask you both, from the female perspective, what are some of the unfair disadvantages that men are facing in the dating world today?
Ooh. I think the dating apps have really been kind of a frustrating, like, I think the dating apps as a whole, I think, and kind of, there's a lot of, like, I would say butterfly effect from the dating apps. I think it is kind of like, I think when the guys swipe on, you know, any woman that they might be interested in talking to, that means the women are going to get a lot of matches. And when the women have too many matches, it's like a paradox of choice. A lot of women just get overwhelmed with the dating apps, and they, you know, they either like shut down entirely and don't want to use them, or it comes down to like, you know, who was just at the top of the list of matches. You know, they're kind of like disillusioned about who actually likes them. It makes like the women kind of jaded. And then of course the guys are saying, oh my gosh, I didn't get I don't have a ton of matches. But at the same time, the guys are kind of like, I don't want to approach this woman in person because I've got this dating app where I don't have to be rejected on like in person. Like I can just pretend that she hasn't seen me yet. So I think the dating apps, I think, have really like thrown things off for men. I also think, I totally had some other, I think some of the things that are like, I would say like maybe a bit more, you know, millennial centric, I think are kind of, I think, you know, as a whole, like, I would say a lot of times, like, you know, something I think women have that really gives us an advantage is when we go to brunch on a Saturday or something, we all talk about, our dates, our relationships, how things are going. Like if you want to write a breakup text, it is written by a committee of women who've proofread it. And, they tell you this sounds good. This doesn't. If you like a guy and, you're not sure where things are going, you show the text to your friends and they go, oh, I don't know that, this, it seems like maybe he's not on the same page and to walk away. I don't know that guys have those similar, close friendships where those kind of conversations happen. So I think a lot of guys maybe feel really alone in a sense where they're not really sure, what to do. Like, I think for women, it's so much more acceptable to be like, oh, I have this guy problem. And we all talk about it and we all talk about our feelings. And I think guys are kind of left like alone with their thoughts, for something that's stressful, like dating. So I think that's definitely, I would say, one of those things too. And then the dating apps. I think there's, I'm trying to think of like what else, because there's a lot that I think like is skewed against men for sure.
Can I say one?
Yeah.
Okay, it cut out again. So whatever you said in the past 5 seconds, I didn't hear. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I think you were done with your point.
Yeah, I was just I was saying the dating apps, and then I think like kind of the male friendships, like talking about like mental health and whatnot. I think kind of falls over into dating. Yeah,
and before Annabelle, you answer to your that second point about groups. I think guys, we don't like asking for help, but what we do with the guy groups. We do vent. We do sometimes ask for advice, but if you think about it, how many of your friends around you are in healthy relationships or know what they're doing? And most of them don't. So the advice you get is not good. Then there's like this cycle where I told you that would happen. I told you, well, like, yeah, it's because I'm taking your advice and it's not really any different from what you've done or the mistakes you've made. So we tend to do that. But when it comes to really personal stuff, like love, we tend to keep that to ourselves. And protect that because we want to do what's best and we don't want to put that out into the world. So I can agree with that second point. Yeah.
I think that, and this is just something I've noticed. I really could be totally wrong, but like, just the way that social media has evolved. I think that like, humiliation has somebody's sense of humiliation has strengthened and increased a lot because it just feels so much more like permanent. If you say the wrong thing to someone, it just feels like playing to your point of why don't men like approach women, like because the fear of rejection holds like more weight, I think now that we have like social media monitoring everything. And I do think that is like a disadvantage that like men have, like, I think sometimes they're dismissed when they say like, I'm too scared to like approach a girl. But like, I get it. Like it is very scary to feel like humiliated or canceled or called out or like, like the word about you spreads like wildfire and now everybody's looking at you weird. Like it's a really like anxiety inducing feeling.
Yeah. I didn't think about it like that from a millennial standpoint. Yeah, that does make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because you see all these videos of guys getting like embarrassed at the club or, see you at the gym, bro, something that comes up. And I didn't think about that. That's a very good point.
And I think to add to that, because I think that's a good point, like, I think there's a lot of just noise in general. Like it used to be, you want dating advice, you go to your brother or someone that you trust and they give you something thoughtful. If you're scrolling through TikTok, because there's a lot of very loud female personalities that talk about dating where it's just like, oh, this short guy just approached me out at the bar. They're telling this story. It's so funny because sometimes those stories, they sneak a name of a restaurant in there because it's an ad. And they tell this dramatic story for clicks. And then lo and behold, it's like, it gets in the guys' heads, I think, like these very like clickbaity stories of like, this guy was wearing, these weird boots and I got the ick. And then all of a sudden the guys are like, oh no, I'm wearing, something's wrong with my boots. Like, but just stuff like that. There's so much noise, and you wouldn't have gotten that like back in the day. And I think that really works against guys, especially because I do think there's more of, I guess I would say a pass for women to say kind of outlandish stuff like that. I think there is in some ways like a double standard. Like if a man was just like, oh, this dumpy woman in her ugly dress, like I think he would be pushed off the internet pretty quickly.
We'd be banned in a second. Yeah.
Yeah. Where women, it's kind of like, oh, girl talk, it's funny. So I think, that works against guys as well.
Yeah. And again, that's a great answer because again, I didn't think about that like that. And, you know, you get to an age like myself after divorce, after going through all that, you don't give a shit what people think. I mean, because going through that is hell, but it humbles the hell out of you. But you come out way stronger at the end and you really don't give a shit what people think or not. But I know that's my perspective. But a younger man who hasn't really maybe found his own identity or find out who he was or his purpose or his passion, there's a lot of insecurity or maybe self-doubt. And that would just add to that. And maybe getting caught on a video or being called out like that would just be, it'd be the worst thing for them, for their development. So that's a very good point, man. I didn't think about that. So great answer to you both. Wow. It broke up. I'm sorry. Did you hear what I said?
No, we didn't. Fire away.
Okay. So I lied. One more question because I just found out about this from you guys right now. What are your top 3 horror movies? And then we'll end it.
Ooh. Okay. I gotta say, Midsummer's my number 1. I love it. It's so
I love Midsummer.
So different, dude. I love it. It's like light the entire time. So good. Okay. Number 2, the one that has like haunted me my entire life, like really the catalyst, Blair Witch Project. Fucking why is it so scary? Nothing happens. It's terrifying. And then number 3, see, I like these kind of modern ones. If I had to pick like an older one, I think I'm a Halloween girly.
Oh, the John Carpenter Halloween?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, hell, that's my first horror movie poster. I have it in the living room. So
really?
I have like 5-6 shirts of Halloween. My kids got 5 or 6 of them. So
cute.
Yeah. And I actually played the soundtrack.
Favorite. So then it was my favorite. Yeah, she always liked Halloween. So I liked it.
I don't know if
sister.
I don't know if I do like Halloween. I would say the number 1's The Shining. I really liked It Follows. Like just something about like
that's a good one.
I don't like jump scares. I like dread.
Yes.
Like dread really sticks with me. Stuff about stalkers, like stuff that could be done by a really depraved human scares me so much more than like demons and entities. I'm trying to think of like what gets the number 3 spot. Gosh, what is it? I'm trying to think.
The Witch too.
The Witch was scary.
I love The Witch. I have that on the shelf back there.
I love The Witch. So good.
I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe it would be Halloween. Yeah, I mean like. Yeah, it's
old-fashioned slasher.
Yeah, I like my old-fashioned slashers. I will say that.
That's good. Okay, we got more to talk about now, but
what's yours?
You had to ask. Damn it. Okay,
of course I'm gonna ask. Really.
Well, obviously, Return of the Living Dead, right? That's my favorite. It's got one of the best soundtracks and practical effects, and I love zombies. So that one's I wouldn't say number 1, but it's up there, right?
Okay.
Ooh, number 2 is probably Jacob's Ladder.
I haven't seen that one, dude. I'm so embarrassed that I haven't seen that one.
Do you guys?
Amazing.
I love psychological horror.
Yes.
And did y'all play video games by chance? I played Silent Hill growing up. Did y'all play those games?
No, but familiar with Silent Hill.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, yeah. I love that it really just messes with your head. So Jacob's Ladder is probably number 2, and it hit me harder as an adult. You know, now that I have a family and seeing what this guy went through, that is just hell.
Yeah.
And 3, ooh, God, it's a tie for The Witch, Hereditary.
Excellent choices. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many.
I know. Oh, the Saw franchise, all 10 movies.
Those are fun.
One of them, I ride for the fucking Saw franchise. That shit is amazing.
But to your sister's point, I agree with her. Like, there's like shock horror. What did they call that? Torture porn back in the early 2000s?
Torture porn, body horror.
I want dread. I love dread, and I love feeling like helpless and just like we're fucked. I love that feeling, and there's no worse feeling, in my opinion, than seeing a family turn on each other, like The Shining, The Witch. That's heartbreaking, but it messes with you when you're older. Like, oh my God, that's so fucked up. And but I would have to say The Exorcist is the third one, and I don't want to see the remake. I hate that they're remaking it.
They're remaking it?
Yeah. It's coming out in I think in October. No. The same guy who redid the Halloween movies. I forget his name. But that director's remaking it.
No.
The one in 2018. That recent trilogy of Halloween movies.
Yeah, okay. But
I think David Allegreen. No, that's a country guy. But anyway, he's going to do the movie, and there's a trailer out. You can look it up on YouTube. But yeah, that's cool. Now we have horror there, and we can talk about that. So that's pretty cool. But Annabelle, and that's another horror movie, Annabelle. Yeah. And Charlotte, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really do appreciate this. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, we're at the Peasant Party Podcast. We are on YouTube. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts. We would be honored to have you as a subscriber and a follower. We stay gender neutral. I say our audience is a lot of the blue dots in the red states is where it's kind of shown up on the heat map. We talked about politics today, which was kind of fun. But yeah, we take listener questions. We usually do two per episode, and then we have like quick hit topics as well throughout. And then we have guests every now and then you and Angela Knight will be coming out on the 26th of this month. So I'm really excited for that.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Annabelle, did you want to shout out
that's
your?
Good. That's it.
Okay, we're good. Okay. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I really do appreciate it. All right.
Thank you so much, Rudy.
Lovely.